And so Google also strengthens the visibility of your site when you have video content on it as well.
Are you a community leader who's looking to really build your community through the power of email? It's the first chance you have to get in front of the right people, and you should make the most of it. So many community leaders take the template approach, and you've lost your community before they've even found you. How about crafting the perfect welcome series instead? You can grab my guide, Crafting the Perfect Welcome Series, at theaudienceconverter.com/giveaway. Discover the tips and tactics I use to help my clients get up to an 80% open rate. When people open those first few emails, they're more likely to continue opening your messages, engaging, and buying from you. Build your community the right way with a welcome series that converts. Grab your copy at theaudienceconverter.com/giveaway.
Welcome to the Audience Converter Podcast, the podcast for converting your audience from strangers to loyal fans. We dive deep and discuss how entrepreneurs, consultants, and coaches can level up their business to help more people in the world. Now here's your host, the creator of the audience conversion method, Kimberly Weitkamp.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Audience Converter Podcast. I'm Kimberly Weitkamp, your host, conversion copywriter, and marketing strategist. And today I am so incredibly excited to talk about something a lot of us here has really great conversion rates. It's really important for our marketing, but a lot of us are scratching our head as to how on earth to do this properly. I am talking all about video and how to use video to grow your business as an entrepreneur. And to help me talk about this topic today, I've got a really awesome person. I got to meet her in person at the New Media Summit. She's a lot of fun to talk with, so I'm excited to have her on. I'm going to introduce you to Parchelle Tashi. Nearly a decade ago, Parchelle launched her first video production company, Fresh Level, which built up multiple locations of operations and produced hundreds of videos across the country, including for brands like SeaWorld and the Wharton School of Business and more. She's been crowned a conscious video producer, strategist, and coach, and now gets to combine her passion for self-discovery with her expertise in video to help her clients go from making noise to creating impact, especially with video. So Parchelle, thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm so excited too, Kimberly. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So Parchelle, we're just going to dive right on in. One of the first things I like to get to know about my guests is, what was your journey to where you were, especially with the first production company and building out multiple locations to where you are now? What was your journey like on that entrepreneurial path?
Yes. So I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family, and I was on the road, and I took the road to become a school teacher. And so that was my first entry into the workforce and into the world. And it wasn't until someone asked me, well, Parchelle, how much would you charge to do some work for me creatively? And what was going on at that time was I was doing a lot of creative work, videos, websites, anything creative I was doing online to help my community. And so when somebody asked me, well, how much would you charge? I had no idea that I could have fun and make money doing it at the same time in that regard. And so I ended up taking this journey. The entrepreneur bug bit me, and I started to have a little side hustle or a business to the side that I did alongside of teaching. And it started to grow. And I was like, my summers off doing internships as a producer in DC and in Philadelphia. And I just really took as much opportunity as I could. And I started to find that I really enjoyed it. And I ended up leaving teaching to do this full time. And so I started doing that kind of as a one-woman show. I think most of us who are in the video world or have ventured out as a videographer knows the case of bringing all the equipment, you're lugging all the equipment, you're doing everything. And I was that one woman show. And I started there and eventually started to bring on people to help me. So for example, I had a one shoot where I had all my equipment, and I realized that, man, if someone else was here to help me to maybe set up the equipment, and then I can talk with the client and get them comfortable before we start, that'll be really helpful. And so I started bit by bit just to kind of add on more to what I was doing in terms of video, to where, we did a lot of work in a lot of different states, and, I was managing crews of over 12 people at one time. So there was a lot of, it just grew and grew, this world of video that I was in. And like I said, we were able to work with a number of businesses and organizations across the country to help them with their messaging and to to share the word about what they do. So that's my my journey. It's so weird because like I said, I used to be a school teacher, and now I'm a video producer, and so it's just been a really exciting journey.
For sure. I mean, it's so interesting, right? I love talking with all these different entrepreneurs because so many of us have what we think is just like a really weird way to get into entrepreneurship. And then the more and more I hear these stories, I'm like, a lot of us follow similar paths. I actually started out as a school teacher as well. I was teaching English as a second language to high school students in Spain. And while over there and doing that, I kind of stumbled into the marketing world and the creative side of being able to build up brands and sell with the power of words. So I love that you talked about how this was kind of like your side hustle, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they start their businesses as a side hustle, and you've actually made that transition to making it your full-time, full business, which, it's very possible, Parchelle, is the definition, right, of making that side hustle into the full-time job. So what are some of the things that you've found in terms of video that a lot of entrepreneurs have like misconceptions about, if you will?
Yeah, I've definitely found that some of the bigger misconceptions are around, I don't know what to say. I have nothing important to say. A lot of people also really get hung up on, how do I stand? Like, what do I do with my hands? Kind of like a Talladega Nights moment, if anybody remembers that movie, where he was doing an interview and he says, "What do I do with my hands?" There's that. And there's also a misconception too about it has to be expensive, it has to be complicated. And it really doesn't have to be. Honestly, we have at our disposal at any time, our phones that have 4K camera capability now, so that you can just switch that on and do an advertisement with it. And some of the misconceptions, like I said, is that it has to be perfect and things of that nature, but it really doesn't. And as long as you're coming from a place of wanting to help others and to provide value, that will take more precedence over it being the most beautiful looking video in the world. And so those are some of the biggest misconceptions that I've gotten. It's usually centered around, like I said, cost, how complicated it is, and it being too much of a big task, and them not being sure what to say or thinking that they have nothing to say. Those are the biggest challenges that I've helped my clients get over when it comes to getting on video.
I can definitely see where those are like those top concerns, because so many people we still do have this idea, right, that you need, this really, really high production value. But let's say that you've got the prettiest video of prettiest videos, but you're not really saying anything unique or interesting. People are still going to stop listening, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when I started learning about business, I remember listening to this guy. He had a YouTube channel, and his videos were horrible. I mean, as somebody who does video, and of course I have a different eye for it. I saw these videos and I was like, oh my God, these are horrible. But I kept listening and watching his videos because what he was telling me was pure gold. It was everything that I needed to learn and know in that moment to grow my business. And so that's one of the things I've always encouraged people with is that if I can go back about another misconception, is that your video has to go viral and that you need thousands upon thousands of people to see it in order for it to work. And that's not true either. I have one of my first clients that I had, we did a campaign, and he put out his video on YouTube. And I remember, checking back in with him maybe a few months later to ask how it was going and what the video had done for him. And he told me he had about 100 views, for which I initially thought, oh man, like this didn't do as well as I thought. But on the flip end, he told me, yeah, but I got like 10 leads. I was like, really? And these were quality leads. And so he specifically had that video in front of the people that needed to see it and that he wanted to see it, not the entire world, but just the people that mattered. And so those 100 views were quality views, the equivalent of 100 people being present in a room while you're the one up talking, in front of them. And so, that was another area of, something to overcome and not to be so concerned about is how many views it's going to get. I think that at the end of the day, if you're looking to come from a place of providing value and then who needs to see it and you get in front of those people, it'll be successful for you.
I think that can definitely be true for any kind of marketing that you're doing. A lot of us have kind of seen the results from that term going viral, right? And it's like, oh man, I've got to get so many eyeballs on this. And it's the same kind of thing of like, oh, I need to build a network on Twitter of 25,000 people, or I need, I need 1 million followers on whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, as you said, right, how many people see it. It matters if those are the right people seeing it and making the right connection with them. So I love that you talked about how, at first you were like, oh man, 100 views, it doesn't seem like a lot. But then realizing a 10% conversion rate of really high quality leads,
Yeah,
it's huge for people.
absolutely. Especially, and I think for him at the time, it was more higher ticket. He was a coach. He's a coach. And so those were all very, very qualified people that he was able to get in touch with as a result. So yeah, the numbers are important, but what's most important is connecting with the right people, like you said.
Absolutely. So, what do you think are some, I guess you could say, tips or hacks for people to figure out exactly how to connect with the right people using video?
Yeah, one area that I always recommend is to go and to consider all of the questions that you get asked frequently and to start there. If you feel like a broken record and you're always answering the same question, that's usually a really good place to start. Also, to start with just addressing some of the questions that your audience has. People are always inquiring things online, and so you can easily do some searching and look into some groups and see what those people are asking and be a resource and to answer those. And to do it on video is really powerful. Another really quick hack too that's really helpful is to use personalized video. And what I mean by that is, if I'm in direct message with someone, let's say on Facebook Messenger or in a text message, I can utilize my camera to send a one-to-one video to that person. And now that those rates go up very high, and it's not something that I guess you consider to be scalable, quote unquote, but it really does make a huge difference when you're able to just communicate with someone one on one and say, "Hey, I was thinking about you. I remembered your question, or I wanted to pose this to you." That's really powerful as well in terms of a hack or a tip to kind of break free into letting video start to work from you from a starting place. I think some of us want to shoot really high, which is fine, but don't neglect the opportunities that are right in front of you to connect with people. Depending on your business and what you're trying to accomplish.
And, that's one of the things I've heard a lot of lately. I'm on all kinds of notifications and all kinds of other lists of other marketers just to, keep apprised of what's going on in the world. And a lot of people are talking about how it's really important to take advantage of those kinds of opportunities and those marketing opportunities that aren't scalable, such as sending those one-to-one videos. Because if you're having a really great conversation with somebody, if you've got an email subscriber, for example, who's really highly engaged, or you've connected with somebody from a Facebook group or something, they're interested in what you have to say. They've taken that extra step as opposed to just randomly opening one message every 3 months. So if they're highly engaged, a way to really solidify the connection and then have you top of mind, even if they can't work with you, they might know somebody who can work with you. So being able to send that more personalized message, and video is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and another point too is that when you engage with someone, let's say in direct message on Instagram or on Facebook, the algorithm recognizes that, well, hey, if they're sending video or audio messages back and forth, they must be close, right? They must know each other. And so as you start to post more content on your social platforms, you're more likely to, have that content to be seen by those people, right? So that also helps to generate a little bit more as from the organic perspective of growth and awareness for your business and when you do make a post on your social media. So it all helps as well on the algorithm as well. The other thing too is that as you add video to your website, Google recognizes that and it sees your site as someone that has authentically put some effort into creating something, right, for people to get help when they're looking for something online. And so Google also strengthens the visibility of your site when you have video content on it as well. And by virtue of the fact that video is on your site, people are going to be there longer, right? So if your video is 2 minutes, now your time spent, the time spent on that website is going to also increase as well just by having a video on your site. So there's a lot of benefits to anyone looking to grow their business just by adding one video here and there and incorporating it into your marketing.
Fantastic. And it's one of those things that I kind of know, but I always forget about is that, the more mediums that you have in the way you communicate with people, the more pings essentially Google gives you. You have video, great. You have audio, great. You have transcriptions, great. All of those types of things are really powerful to kind of help you raise in the search engines. So, we're talking about one of the big misconceptions you had mentioned was people don't know what to say. And one of the things you said was, you can start with, well, what are your top questions and create video content around that. So how do you make sure that your video content does stand out from all the other people talking about the same topic that you get questions on?
That's such a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. My answer to that is to infuse yourself into your content. And what I mean by that is to tell your story, right? There are topics where, countless number of people talking about that same topic. And in order for you to stand out and for that message to be heard, it's really key that you infuse your story, tie a story, a personal story of your own into it, right? And for some people, we might think that that's, we don't have that much to say or there's nothing of value as far as our story, but there is. Look back over the events of your life, right? Look over some of the successes and failures that you've had. Be transparent and allow that to come up with the content, right? Allow that to be, sort of a fallback, if you will, like the almost like the force behind what you're saying is your story. Otherwise, you're just like everyone else, right? Whereas the truth is, all of us have a very unique way that we express ourselves in the world, right? You're into marketing. There's several other people that do marketing. There's several other people that do video, but no one else who does video has my story. And that's what I infuse into my content and the way and the things that I present. So that way people get to know me, right? Nobody's really buying from us just because we're good at what we do. We're also connecting with people and they like who we are as people. We do business with those that we know, like, and trust. And to overcome that is really important that we just tell and express and show who we are without shame, right? Without being afraid, right? There's also some personal work that I see that goes into you know becoming better on video, right? You have to be really comfortable with knowing yourself and seeing the value in your story, enough so that you would share it and tie it to the content that you're putting out.
Absolutely. That's something I talk with a lot of my clients about how they're like, well, people don't want to hear that about me. I'm like, no, that's why they're going to keep following you is because you talk about the fact that you love fishing or that you hate bowling or you don't understand sports or the journey that you took to get to where you are. One of the most interesting experiences I've had with video recently is, we were in a time of transition. Lots of things were changing for a lot of people around the world. And so I went live just to talk about 2 or 3 things that I had been seeing a lot in questions on like Facebook groups and stuff. And somebody asked me, they're like, you're really good on video. Do you have a teleprompter? And I said, no, I don't even know where to find one of those. Because, I had heard that you should speak into the camera as if you were talking to a friend. So I used the hack when I first started doing Facebook Lives of like putting a picture of somebody right behind my camera so I could remind myself to look at the person or look at the camera to make that connection with the audience. And then it also kind of helped you keep to being who you are as opposed to trying to imitate another guru or saying, oh, well, I have to be really professional while doing this, so I've got to put my professional face on. Because at the end of the day, people buy from people they like, right?
Yes, absolutely. And there's a way to balance that out. You can still be yourself and still be professional. It's not like it's either or that you have to be forced to choose between the two. It's really about the value in what you're saying and what you're bringing to the table. If I had the winning lotto numbers, and I wrote them on a napkin with crayon versus a laminated printout, you know what I mean? For you, like, it wouldn't matter. The value is there, you know what I mean? As long as you're coming with that, that's what matters the most, right? And takes the most precedence.
I like that analogy. The lotto numbers in crayon or a laminated flimsy, but both of them have the same value. That's really great.
Yeah, and we don't have to stress over it, just be yourself. I mean, that's what's going to translate the most with people, like you said, because we connect with those that we know, like, and trust. And if I don't know who you are, I don't. What do I know that you and I might have in common or not? But that's why the impact of telling your story is so key, because our stories are filled with emotional connection, and most of us can all relate to moments of fear, moments of pain, moments of sadness, also moments of joy, moments of success, curiosity, all those things, right? And so as you reveal more of that through your lens of seeing the world, other people can relate, and now they're on your side. Now they can vibe with you. Now they can listen to you more because you're trusted at that point, right? You're trusted and you've made a connection with them.
So we've talked about so many great topics here related to video, about how it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to go viral. It doesn't have to be super expensive. There's all these really great ways that you can use video now, today, just to tell your story and to make sure that the content you're putting out there is the right kind of content for your audience. So we're almost out of time, but what would you say is the one action item that you would recommend people do after listening to this episode?
One thing I would recommend, especially now, because I'm not sure when this episode will release, but we're all going through some really tough times, regardless of how the situations of COVID-19 have affected you, affected us. One challenge that I would present as an action item is to take out your phone, do a video message for someone specifically that you are grateful for, and to send that video to that person and just to see what happens. That could be a client, that could be a prospect, that could be a family member, that could be someone you haven't talked to in a long time, a friend. That's just one thing I would just advise you to do, is use the power of video to connect with somebody, and take your pick, whoever that might be. But trust that when you come from the heart and when you do that, that's going to make you feel good, first of all, and it's going to make that person feel 10 times better as well. So I just encourage you guys to use the power of video to start with something small, right? Connect with somebody, brighten someone else's day, and let that come back to you.
That is a really powerful exercise, because so many of us think that there has to be a specific reason. There has to be a specific point in time. Okay, now is the time to use video. But the reality is it's another great way to connect with somebody. So I liked that you said, it could be a client, it could be a family member, because we are going to be surprised by the results that we get by using video more in our business and in our lives. Because, so as we've always talked about, right? So many of us as entrepreneurs, we're really busy. Everyone in the world is really busy. Things pass us by. Suddenly it's been 3 months since you talked to that person that you used to talk to every day. So being able to just take a moment, record a quick message that gives value, that comes from the heart, it's not only great practice for your business, but it's also a great way for you to continue making connections with people.
100%, 100%. And that can only help us in the long run. Our relationships really matter, of course. And this is a great way to do it. And if you've never done it before, it's a great place to start. And if you have done a bunch of video, this is also something that's going to benefit someone in your life that you care about, or somebody that you want to help.
Absolutely. And, it's all about having that starting point. And I love that we got to talk about so many different parts of video and how to use it in your business and also in your life, because it's one of those things that's around to stay, right? People had that prediction that thing called the internet wasn't going to stick around and they didn't need to invest in it. And then they were all proven wrong. And, video, it has been around for quite a while, but it's still, I feel, an untapped market for a lot of people. So it's a great starting point to just kind of sit down and record a quick message from the heart to somebody that you care about in life. And Parchelle, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. And if people want to know more about you and what you do, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media, as well as my website, parchelletashi.com, or my handle is @ParchelleTashi, and you'll be able to find me there. And if anybody wants to chat about video and how it can help grow their business, I just recommend scheduling a call with me. It's free, and that's at connectwithparchelle.com. And yeah, I look forward to chatting, and it's been really, really great. Thanks for having me, Kim.
Well, definitely go and check out Parchelle's website and all of her social media. She's got some fun stuff up there. And if you're not sure about spelling or whatnot, no worries. All of the links that we've mentioned today will be in the show notes. Be sure to check them out and schedule your call with Parchelle to talk about how video can be used in your business. So, Parchelle, once again, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You as well. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Audience Converter Podcast. For more information and important links about today's show, or for access to our website, visit theaudienceconverter.com. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.